Welcome to Entrepreneurial Entrails for some short stories on the guts and glories of being an entrepreneur.
Short people got no reason. Short people got no reason.
Good morning, it's Elizabeth Plouffe with Entrepreneurial Entrails, and we're going to start this Monday off by being thankful. And not in a kumbaya kind of way, but in a practical business kind of way. And we'll start off with a mom story, because I'm a mom, and I have two kids, and my eldest is 18 and looking for his first job. He's had some challenges with employment, and that's another podcast altogether. And I think we all have moments where in a cutthroat industry, you're applying for a position and you need a way to stand out. And I don't mean like Elle from Legally Blonde, where your resume is pink and smells like perfume, but you need a way to stand out against all the other applicants. And one of the most simple ways that I have used for years and years, and I'm really hopeful that it's not a dying art, is a thank you note. And that sounds so goofy and so simple, and I hope if any of you are doing it that you keep doing it, because it really is one of the best ways. And so here's the story. So my son interviewed with a local business a few weeks ago and wasn't successful for the position, and we kind of thought he wouldn't be. He has Asperger's syndrome and some executive function deficits, which make handling multiple things a bit of a challenge. Really smart kid and very talented and what have you, but he was being interviewed for the soup and sandwich bar, which would have required him, with no food background, to really be on his feet, and that's just not his jam. So unfortunately, he wasn't successful. And in the meanwhile, he interviewed with another organization and got the job, which was great, but they set him up for failure because they put him on cash. And if you've ever worked a cash register, you know that it can be really fast, and Thomas is very meticulous and wants to do things right, the right way. So cash is really not the best thing for him. So after 3 days, unfortunately, he was let go. And in the vein of thank you, if you have to let somebody go, please don't use the bullshit, it's not a good fit. Provide the person with some positive feedback that they can use to, learn new skills or what have you. It's not a good fit sucks as a reason, and it's a lazy human resources answer. So anyway, that makes me angry. So the point being, after the Fortinos interview, I strongly encouraged Thomas to write a thank you note to Fortinos, to the person who had interviewed him, for taking the time to interview and to also, if I'm not successful for this position, please consider me for something else, yada, yada, yada. And he resisted a little bit. One, his handwriting is not great, so we did it on the computer and we worked on it together. And two, he just thought, oh, that's kind of corny, Mom. Like, what are you making me do? And so after the Food Basics job fell through, he was feeling pretty low and what have you, and he got a phone call on the weekend from Fortinos. The woman, I guess, had just received the thank you note that he had dropped off a couple of weeks ago and called him in, and he has an interview today for another position, which would be much better for his skill set. And this is quite a supportive place of people with challenges, so I'm really hopeful that this is going to be a good thing for him. But the priceless part of it was watching the penny drop about the thank you note. And, and I explained to him, I said, you need to be authentic when you're giving a thank you note. You can't just dash off a piece of crap and it, it's sort of like answering the phone without smiling. People can tell if you're being a jerk about it. But watching him process that, and I have to confess, I did have a thank you for listening to mommy moment. So what that got me thinking about was also on the weekend, did a donation to Value Village. And their way of thanking me was giving me a 30% off card right away, which was fantastic. And I went in, and they have a pretty small business section, but I managed to pick up 5 books, which was amazing. And some for me and some for my Build Buddy. And the focus for my Build Buddy was books on customer service. And one of them was, the Disney experience, and another one was how to stand out in the crowd with your customer service and what have you. And it tied up for me a conversation that I had with somebody at a networking event a while ago, where I had suggested to them that given their product, which was adult diapers, And given the demographic who were probably getting his product, I suggested that because he's just getting off the ground, to include a handwritten thank you note to everybody who placed an order. And, maybe the first, I couldn't give him the logistics. We didn't have time to sit down and figure out the CRM tracking and all of that. But even if it's just on the very first order for each new client, it's going to make a huge impression. You have a demographic that grew up with mail, and I've talked about this before. And, receiving a handwritten note is a lost art. The amount of mail that we receive now is minimal, and it's environmentally friendly, but it's psychologically damaging. And this is the other thing to consider, that thank you notes are really beneficial for not only the giver but the receiver. They contribute to an overall feeling of well-being. The act of writing the thank you note is an act of gratitude, which contributes to positive mental state and positive health impacts. So, if you're looking for a way to stand out, not only, your personal life with your career, if you're applying for a job or what have you, regardless of what you're applying for, make sure that the thank you note is appropriate, but send a thank you note. You will stand out amongst the many candidates in this very competitive industry, or it's not competitive industry, but this competitive time. We're still in the middle of an undiscussed recession, and you need to make it happen. The thank you note that my son included, like I mentioned, also said, please consider me for other positions. So a thank you note career-wise is an opportunity to maybe highlight some more skills that you didn't discuss or weren't in your resume or cover letter, and pinpoint the time and date and the person, really make it personal to that thank you note. From a client service perspective, that first thank you note, for an example with the adult diaper guy, really makes an impact, because that person is going to tell their friends who are also going to be in need of that particular product at some point. And they're going to tell their kids, who are then going to tell, their friends who have parents in need of it and what have you. And even if it's only 5 people, that's 5 less people that you have to market to, and 5 more people that may become customers. And multiply that by your potential growth and for 10 minutes of time. I read an article, it was on Forbes magazine, and it's from 2014, but it's how 13,000 handwritten thank you notes built a thriving business. And it talks about a fashionable young company called Hex, H-E-X, has built a thriving business and great customer loyalty through 13,000 thank you notes that its employees have written by hand. And they show an example, and it's not complicated. It's on branded stationery, and it is handwritten with that person's first name. And there's an image of it here, and it just says, Corey, thank you so much. The Academy, I can't read the handwriting, so make sure whoever's writing them has good handwriting. The Academy convertible sleeve is rad. We hope you're stoked. Obviously, they are customizing their language to their target audience, because I wouldn't write one like that, but that's just me, And then you go to the Hex website, and sure enough, they're doing great. So it works. Thank you notes work. It makes your customers feel special. It makes you stand out in a really crowded market, industry or career or what have you. And from a personal note, it works. It absolutely works. I've used it myself. It shows appreciation to the person who gave you their time for the interview. It shows appreciation for the client who's bought your product or service. And it's honestly something that I firmly believe in. I've got a pack of thank you notes that I bought. They're not branded, but they're really cute. I'm going to seal them with, if you don't have branded thank you notes, then at least create some round stickers that have your branding on it to seal the envelope. One really great point that I think was in this Forbes or a couple of one of the other articles I read was, do not include your business card. That is tacky. Tacky! This is not a selling opportunity. This is an opportunity to be honestly grateful and appreciative. If you include your business card, you just sent your thank you note down the shitter. Don't do it. It sucks. Make sure that your contact information is included. Do a branded sticker on the back to seal it. Do it on the return address side, whatever you need to do. But do not include your business card. So that's my point for today, for your Monday. If you've recently had an interaction with a client, or you've had an interview, or you had a great coffee time with somebody, then send them a thank you note. It makes a huge difference. It makes you stand out. And in this day and age, my friends, of crowded, constantly receiving texts and constantly receiving emails, the time you took is appreciated, and it makes a difference. So that's it for today. The only thing I can say to you is just know that you have the guts and glory to make your own story. And I hope your story includes thank you notes. And we will talk to you soon. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.